Hotep, Black Power, giving honor to the ancestors, the Creator. As always, giving honor to my sister, Chief of Staff, Brother Harris Abdul, my father, my in-laws, as always, to my family and comrades that are in the ancestral realm, and to the brothers and sisters who are fighting in the liberation and salvation of the black nation. But to all of my brothers and sisters, I greet you with a Hotep and Black Power today. Today, this video is just going to be some loose, I'm just going to go a little loose and just talk about some of the things that we need to do collectively as a people. Where our hearts need to be at, where our minds need to be at, and more of a relaxed mode in some areas of what we have to learn to understand and appreciate. So, I'm just going to touch on that today. And for my brothers and sisters, believe me, I have a lot of love for y'all. Because I'm willing to give my life, I'm willing to lay my life down and dedicate my life to the liberation and salvation of the black nation. And this can be a very, very grueling task at times. A lot of times you can be alone at the end of the day because everyone else is caught up in the matrix, of religion and, of the hustle and bustle and the coonism and what have you, and, it can be frustrating at times, trying to convey messages and information to some of our people, to a people, period, that reject truth and that are more comfortable with deception, and lies, and being crossed and being tormented, because a lot of us have adapted and have become accustomed to be tormented, thinking that that's the only way of life, and that's where we need to come in and embrace one another and see the beauty in one another. Because when I see you, I see a reflection of not only myself, but I see a reflection of the Creator who created us. And by us being the first creation, the word that you use called God, that sums it all up. When you're seeking God, all you have to do is actually look in the mirror. Now, when you are at your God's frequency, and the reason why it's so difficult to see God when you look in the mirror, because you're not on that God frequency where you are supposed to be. When you're functioning on a low frequency, all you see is low frequencies, a reflection of low frequencies, such as someone who's doing wrong and someone who is indulging in things that are harmful. That's the reflection that you're going to see. You're going to see a frequency of harmful, harmful energies. So we have to, raise our level of consciousness, and it's not as hard as you perceiving it to be, or we perceive it to be. It's just a matter of just connecting with individuals that are functioning on a more higher frequency than you are, and you finding it and grasping on to that particular information, and so you can reach that particular frequency. And then you go on and on. It's the same way and the same efforts that you would use to indulge into something that you like today. Because whatever you do the most, that's what you do best. So excuse me, you know, if you want to reach that God frequency, that God is frequency, you know, you have to just embrace people who are there, who are or trying to get there, you know, where they can, you know, extend their hand, you know, their spiritual and emotional hand and mental hand to pull you up, to pull you over that wall, you know. So, you know, and then we have to learn to, once we learn to embrace ourselves, we're able to truly embrace others. Because I hear a lot of people, excuse me, I hear a lot of people talking about how much they love another human being. They love another brother and sister. But they struggle with having love for themselves, and their behavior is a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And how can you say, you know, I love this person, but I'm doing destructive activities and behaviors to myself, if that person is a reflection of you? So that's why, you know, divorce rates are high. That's why, you know, we can't get along with our mates. We struggle seeing eye to eye with a lot of things. We do things to spite our you know, our other halves. You know, some of us love to see our mates and our other halves, you know, hurting, you know, or begging them, you know, or being at their disposal and their mercy. You know, some of us are in that mindset, and some of us have so much vindictiveness in us that we want to make somebody pay for it, and it's always somebody that cares about you that you want to bring harm to, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's economical, whether it's financial, you know, whatever level it may be. Because that's how I feel about me. The way I treat you is how I feel about myself. And some of us refuse to be wrong. Some of us have to be right. And if we are wrong, we have to have a justification for it, instead of just allowing things to just be. You know, I've learned that over the years because, you know, in my early adult years, you know, I was afraid to be wrong because I was afraid that people would lose hope, people would lose faith and interest in me. So I would do everything to defend, you know, the wrong. And in all actuality, I just didn't know who I was. And a lot of us don't want to admit that we don't know who we are. Let's take the religion away. Let's take the employment away. Take the job away. Take all your toys away from you. Take every dime away from you. Take every piece of clothing away from you. Take the makeup. Take everything away from us. Take everything. Strip yourself down to nothing. And what do you have, and what do you see, and what are you ashamed of into what you see? And that will tell the complete story about you. And I've tried that. I've tried that, you know. And once you understand, you know, who you are better off because you have nothing to hide anymore. You know, I'm just dealing with some minute, you know, psychology right here. You know, just some minute psychology, just to bring us up on, you know, bring us to point. And like I said, when I'm talking to you all, I'm talking to me. You know, because I have a long ways to go as well. We're walking this together. That's the purpose of the videos. For us to reach that pinnacle together as one. because it will not work. The I concept will never work. But the we concept, the us concept will always work. Because there are strength in numbers. And that's just not a cliche, that's just not a saying. So, you know, I wanted to touch on that because, you know, at times, you know, we need to unwind, you know, and we need to fall back for a minute and take a look, you know, at where we stand at as a people. You know, and we are, you know, even in the family dynamics, we are a hurting people. You know, particularly in your own family. Look at your own family and you'll see where you stand at based on your level of consciousness. Because 9 times out of 10, you're the only one that's conscious in your immediate family. And so everybody else is outsider. You're going to have someone that's going to hate on you. You're going to have someone that says you're crazy, that you're wrong, because you're not following the social order of the system of racism, white supremacy. Because you're not into the church. You don't believe in this mystery God and this spook God. You don't believe in these non-existing deities. And I'm using that word just for the purpose of understanding the term deity, because a non-existent deity is not a deity. So a deity is something that exists, that has a divine character. So if it doesn't exist, it's not a deity. So let me just make that clear. Let me just be clear on this. You know, so you know, but you know, and that's how it is in the family. Someone, oh, there you go with that black shit. You know, he don't eat no meat. You know, get him a piece of wood. You know, all these types of jokes instead of and I know that, and I'm going to say that for the purpose of my family, my siblings. You know, and not all of them. You know, just some of them with the false pride that instead of you know, patting each other on the back, we want to make jokes to try to dim the morality of someone, you know, to make them feel like the effort that they're making for change and to reach a high frequency is not worth it. Why don't you just go and follow the order? Why don't you just get in line with white supremacy and the system of racism and be a slave like the rest of us? You know, the only way you're going to make it, you know, oh, the white man this, and you know, I got good white balls. I got a good white balls. Listen to what I'm saying. I got a good white balls. My balls, you know, I thought the only boss that we had was the creatus, but nevertheless, you know, and yeah, I got my degree from I got my master's from the University of, you know, such and such, and you know, I got my BA. I'm going to write my first book, and you know, I know you're don't eat meat and you're not religious and whatnot, but you mind if I turn on TD Jakes because he's a dynamite orator and all that, you know, that's some sucker shit, man. You know, that's some sucker shit. You know, he uses a lot of profanity and all. Man, you grew up, you know, you grew up on this. If your ears have become too sensitive for some profanity, we will never get fucking liberated. If you're sensitive to words and talk, you can never say that you are about black liberation and black salvation. You have become almost literally become a pussy. If you're a grown, hard-ass man holding your ears for what somebody may say. You cannot say, you know, you can't even really say that you are a thorough male. Not a true alpha male. You know, and you know, and some profanity, you know, has curled your motherfucking stomach. What are you gonna do when FEMA kicks the door in? I don't even want to imagine what you might do for your freedom. If you know, if profanity is, if you're sensitive to profanity, you know, a thorough man, he may not even use profanity, you know, because, and I'm not justifying that either, because, you know, who made it up? Who said that these words were good words, and who said these words were bad words? Who's in charge of the words? You know, who dictates what words are good and what words are bad? So, and that's why I'm saying that if some words can, you know, can curl your stomach and, you know, take you out of the little small element that you're in, then, you know, it's, you know, I find it hard for you to call yourself an alpha male. You know, and to go even further, heterosexual. You know, so you know, it's just certain things that, you know, because we, you know, we look for loopholes to stay in slavery. We look for loopholes to stay into mental, spiritual, and physical captivity. We look for reasons to stay. I never forget my great aunt, which is my grandmother's sister. Bless her heart, she's an ancestor now. I remember her, and she was 100. But I remember her saying that her grandfather's brother was a slave, and then when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, she said that her grandfather told her that her brother was afraid to leave the plantation. You know, so, I mean, you know, excuse me. Yeah, so, you know, and when she broke that down to me, you know, and that was about 20 years ago, and that, you know, that never left me. You know, and I see that same type of mindset and behavior today. You know, where we look for reasons to stay into physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, most of all, spiritual bondage. Because spiritual bondage is vicious. It's vicious. You know, because, and for the record, let me explain to you all who have trouble understanding certain things in terms of our spirituality. When our ancestors were coming over here on the ship, when they got over here, they were beaten and forced. They were forced to read the Bible. They were forced to be Christians. Forced. Now, prior to that, we studied no religion. We studied no religion. We dealt with the elements of the universe. We had no limitations on quote-unquote God. We had no limitations on the Creator because we are an infinite people in terms of how long we've been on the planet. There's no recorded date of our existence, of our arrival. You know, and that stuff we was beaten into, you know, we had to read the Bible. Not really read it, because only one person was allowed to be well versed in the scriptures, and that was our personal minister who was, you know, like Nat Turner was. You know, he was the only one allowed to preach. But see, what went on with Nat Turner was that the African spirituality didn't mix with that doctrine. And the African ancestors' messages overpowered the fictitious religious doctrine. And that's why he was getting the signs from the ancestors about the eclipse and when to, you know, fight for the freedom of their people. Now, this is how contradictory, you know, these crackers are. Now, Nat Turner was condemned and skinned and hanged and all that, you know, for fighting for his liberation and salvation for his people. However, when you read these scriptures and these doctrines in certain books, all they done was fight. King David, Joshua, all they did was fight, fuck, rape each other, and ask for forgiveness after they tore each other off. And then in between, the people that was chosen to be servants in this whole equation was not allowed to participate in anything but just to read Ephesians 6:5. Slaves, obey your human masters with fear and trembling as you would Christ. That was the only verse that we were allowed not to read. That's the only verse that we were allowed to internalize, so we could carry out the duties of that particular scripture. And I'm talking about our ancestors. Now you see how that worked? How the ancestors worked through us? I didn't even mention, I had to remind myself that I wasn't my ancestors of before, although I am. You know, so it's deep, my brothers and sisters. You know, but however, we were forced, and still to today, by our parents, by us thinking that everything our parents do is the right thing to do, and whatever they believed in, we believe in. And it's wrong. And I'm telling you, your parents, you know, that same whip that our great ancestors, that when they first got over here, the whip that they caught is the same whip and the same energy that our parents had the same inflictment too. But by that time, generations had passed and the whip was here. So I'm not mad at my parents because they only went by what was given to them. But now that I know better, I have to show better. That don't make them bad or stupid or dumb or anything like that, because they only went by what was taught to them. We only went by what was taught to us. And they never had the exposure that we have today. You know, the luxuries of DVDs and almost, you know, this microwave a black consciousness that our predecessors laid down, you know, so the generations, not this generation, the generations ahead, do not have to do the grueling work of reading hundreds and thousands, in some cases, of books to acquire black consciousness. You know, and that's why I always thank the ancestors. I would not know what I know today if it weren't for my predecessors, if it weren't for the ancestors. You know, Just think about it. Even all the way to Brother Tupac Shakur, which I'll be doing a couple of video clips probably tomorrow or Saturday morning, because I will be attending the premiere of the movie All Eyes on Me tomorrow evening. You know, at some movie theater, you know, in the vicinity. So I'll inform you on that as well. But even down to that brother, Tupac Shakur, you know, who was just you know, what made him so unique and stood out from the rest of the people in that music hip hop industry was that he had a high level of black consciousness. Did he apply it like he was supposed to? No. You know, but I understand what went down. You know, the whole process, and you know, him being left in jail. You know, no friends. Everyone turned their back on him, and then he had to take a different route temporarily, you know, to get to where he wanted to go, and where he needed to go, and where he needed to be, where we needed him to be. So, you know, it's a story, you know, even if the movie is not correct in its totality, the brother still, if you studied him, you know, if you studied anything about the brother, he had an extraordinary life, which resulted into a tragic ending in this form anyway. But I just wanted to share some things, and in closing, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, begin to look at yourself and develop some self-love. You know, hold your heads up, regardless, hold your heads up, you know, because a soldier and a warrior has to stand up and endure, you know, whatever we have to endure. We can't let our people down, brothers and sisters. We must continue to fight. We must continue, you know, the struggle, you know, and the grueling task of fighting for our freedom and independence. Hotep, Black Power.